Hello everybody, this is Green Spirit. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute since I have made a video for my channel, and I honestly hadn't planned on making a video tonight, but I decided to go ahead and share with you a project that I will be making or attempting. And I thought, well, this is the first time I try doing it, but maybe I should record it and see if it works out, and then we have a new kind of pagan nature craft that if it turns out how I want it to be, might be a good option for you. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a faux agate slab. As you know, faux agates, or not faux agates, but regular agate slabs or slices can be quite expensive, especially when you're talking about really large slabs of agate or slices. So because I know that I can't afford buying such a large piece of agate, I decided that I wanted to still get that feel for it for my space. So what I decided to do here is what you're looking at is a slice of tree that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. This was originally about $12, but I had a 40% off coupon, and I got initially I had thought maybe I can make it with glass, but I don't know how to cut glass, and I wasn't willing to incur the expense of buying the tools for glass, like creating things with glass, like snips and glass cutter and so on and so forth. And then I thought, well, maybe I can make it out of something else. And as I was walking through the craft store, I came across these wood slices, and as you can see, obviously there's rings all around here, and they're already kind of, these slabs are cut in that kind of agate shape, including the edge is very much like the bark, or not a bark, but the outer rim of a slice of agate. So I thought about a couple of ways to do this. I thought about painting it and then putting decoupage medium over the top of it. I bought some scrapbooking paper that had the pattern of an agate, and I tried to measure it out, but I didn't like the way that looked. I thought about painting it and just using some kind of shellac or something like that. But I think what I'm going to go ahead and try is I bought this slab. Again, I got this for 40% off. And then I got some Sculpey clay. So some modeling clay. And I got it in the color translucent, which is basically a white, but has a translucent kind of feel to it. Now I know that you could try to just make agates with the Sculpey alone, and certainly that could work. You just get some Sculpey and different colors and kind of blend them together and then make it in the shape of an agate, and that would work perfectly well. But I wanted to make such a large piece that might have been a bit cost prohibitive, and so I decided to give this a try. And I really honestly really like the look and feel of this wood, so I decided to go a different way. I did go ahead and purchase some of this Sculpey clay. Again, it's in the color translucent, and I bought a total of 3 of them. And then what I have done here is I have gone ahead and flattened this piece, or this Sculpey clay, as much as possible. What I did is I started out, like I said, I purchased 3 Sculpeys. I massaged it really well so that it got really supple, and then I flattened it out. And I don't have a pasta maker, but I do have a tortilla press, so I got 2 chunks and I flattened them as much as I could. Finally, what I did is just put it onto the slab of wood, and then with my fingers, as you can see, there's lots of different little ridges. I basically just pulled at it until it stretched all the way through the wood, or to the size of the wood. I honestly thought, ooh, I probably could have used with at least another package of Sculpey, but I've decided to just use 3, and as long as I stretched it and was real gentle but firm with it, I managed to get it to this whole size. So I have it on a sheet of plastic here, and then what happens is once you what I did is so for example, this side that you're looking at of this wood is the wrong side, or I'm sorry. Okay, so this side that you're looking at of the wood, I had flipped it to the other side, and the other side has a knot on it. That's what I measured against and did the stretching and sculpting. And then what I did is I flipped the wood to be the right side, and then once I had already stretched this piece, I went ahead and if I take it off this plastic, the other side is nice and smooth, and then I just matched it up to the edges so that you get a real nice slick surface instead of these ribs. So I'm going to put you down for just a second, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone ahead and just flipped it over, and as you can see, this side is nice and smooth. Now it's not perfect. Obviously this is a homemade item, so it's not going to be as completely smooth as you would get from an actual sliced agate where it's been polished to be completely smooth, but it's actually pretty good. Now all these little speckles that you see are like little bits of dust that have accumulated because of the bark on the outside, but I don't mind them being there. It gives it a real natural feeling, although when this is done baking, and I'm gonna paint this, it's probably going to be looking a little bit differently. I don't know how much the little pieces of dirt will show up, but we'll find out together. So basically I've gone ahead and stretched it against this wood, and what I plan to do is all these rough edges, I plan to either color them slightly or maybe just leave it raw. I haven't decided yet. But I will put some decoupage medium on the outside edge so that all this bark that's kind of flaking off will go ahead and kind of stick on there, so I don't have to worry about flaking off anymore. So what I was mentioning before as well was that I had tried to see how this would look with some paper, and this is an agate scrapbook sheet, and as you can see, when I lay it against, it just looks really fake, and I really didn't like the look of it the way it was, so I decided to go ahead and not use this. Another thing that I purchased for this project was also at Hobby Lobby, was this piece of clear plastic. So as you can see, it's just a sheet of plastic right now. It has cling film on both sides, but what I plan to do is I'm going to go ahead and bake this clay now in the oven according to package directions, and then what will happen is I'm going to go ahead, once it's cool, I will paint it, and then I will go ahead and measure this out and to the size of this slab, and then see how I like it on here to size, and see if I like that slick feeling the way it is, or if I should just decoupage and put several coats of decoupage medium. We're going to find out together which is the preferred method, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and put this slab of Sculpey into the oven to bake, and then we'll be back as soon as that's done. Okay, thanks. Okay everybody, so here is the slice of Sculpey clay that I went ahead and baked in the oven. Right here you can see that I have a bit of a crack. What had happened is that this part of the clay had curled up, and when I tried to push it down, it broke. I'm hoping that I will still be able to repair this. What I plan to glue this Sculpey clay to this wood block is with E6000. This will be the first time I use this type of glue, but I hear that it's very, very, very strong, and so I'm going to go ahead and eventually glue this down to this wood block, and I'm hoping that I will be also able to repair some of these cracks right here. But what I've got here on this other side is I've got a paint palette here that I plan to use. I'm going to be using just regular acrylic paint, you know, the stuff you get for, you know, 79 cents to $1. I'm going to mix it up, and what I tried a little bit of an experiment right here with some of these pieces. I had a little piece of Sculpey, and I baked it, and I wanted to see how it would kind of turn out. And it looks like as long as I just water it down substantially, I can go ahead and paint the clay. And with the water down version, what will happen is the paint bleeds onto each other to create kind of like an agate effect. And then after I get done painting it, what I did here is I painted it and then stuck it in the oven again for another 10 minutes, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, to let that dry, because you want it kind of wet, because if you try to kind of paint it on here and then dab it off, it just takes all the color with it because it's so watered down. So what you'll want to do is go ahead and paint it with the paint very, very watered down, and then let it bleed onto each other, and then you're going to stick this clay back in the oven again and let it cook for another 10 minutes so that it dries and absorbs all the water. And then this particular piece I had added decoupage medium, and you can see the reflection there. I just wanted to see what it would look like. I haven't yet decided if I'm going to go ahead and just cover it in decoupage medium, or if I'm going to go ahead and put my plastic that I had mentioned before. I had gotten a sheet of plastic. Once I get done, I will find out which one I like the best. So here it is, and I'll get started on this. So I'm going to put this camera down for just a minute, get my paints all ready, and then we'll start doing this together. Also, I've got an image of an agate on my computer here so that I have something to reference. I really like the colors that are here, and so we'll go ahead and get started. And then as you can see here, I just have, this is a painting I've been working on. I love to paint, and so if you guys catch a glimpse of this, it's just a painting that I'm currently working on. So anywho, let me put this down and we'll get started. Okay everybody, so I've got a little bit of paint here. I chose brown, white, light yellow, blue, and green. And I'm going to be using kind of this thicker paintbrush, and I have a paper towel here to dab it with, to dab the paintbrush in, but I want to actually kind of keep it kind of wet because I want this to be watered down so that the colors blend really well together. So here I am adding some water to this blue, and as you can see, it's getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And then I'm just keep dipping back and forth into my water because I want to make this thinner. And now I've dragged a little bit of this white, and if you can see, it's kind of making this marbled effect, and that's what I plan to do in on the Sculpey clay as well. So again, this is really watered down, and I'm starting off with a little bit of blue. I'm going to go ahead and add more water to that little bit of blue in the center. Okay. I'm going to add a teeny bit more blue. Again, it's very, very watered down, and this is just like I said, regular acrylic paint. And now I'm just dabbing it in with a little bit more of a darker blue, not so watered down but still quite watered down, and I'm just dabbing it. I'm going to go ahead and soak my brush again in the water. I'm going to pick up a little dab of white, and as you can see, it starts spreading, and then again working with just water. No, I'm not cleaning my brush. I'm not spinning my brush in the water. I'm just dabbing it off, and it creates kind of like this agate effect all on its own. You don't really have to do much of anything. Again, I'm going back in with the blue. I think I want to try some of this neon green. I've mixed it a little bit with, well, I guess it's not really neon. Let's see what it's called. It's a lime green. Just gonna dab it. Again, just working with just water. And here I added a little bit more paint. And now this is just water. And I'll dip my brush again, tap it a little bit into the white, and just drag it against that color. So I'll show you my paint palette here. All I've done is just gotten, like for example, some green here, watered it down, water, 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 more water, then all of a sudden I pick up a little dab of white, and then more water, and it starts to spread out. So I'm just going to continue this way. Water, more paint, so I picked up a little bit of yellow, and I'm just going to continue doing this. Again, very heavy on the water, occasional dabs of paint, and then occasional dabs of white until I cover the entire surface. And then when this is done, I'll go ahead and show you how it looks. Okay? Alright, back in a minute. Okay guys, so here I've worked a little bit more on it, and what I have started doing after I initially started just the dabbing and adding of color, now what I've been doing is going around in a circle and just randomly inserting the color. Again, it's very concentrated but very at the same time very watered down. So I've just been now going around in a circle because you essentially want to get these bands of color just like you would get in a normal agate. And I haven't added any more white. I plan to saturate this really, really good and then go ahead and add my white so that the white disperses throughout. But I just wanted to show you that I'm just going now in a circle to the shape of this wood piece. So I'm going to do a little more and then show you how it looks. Okay guys, so here you can see that I've added just more color. I've added some brown. It's kind of a reddish brown, and again, it's very watered down. And what I'm doing, see, like these very swirly effects, all I've done is just placed a dollop of colored water. And what it does is it just kind of spreads on its own without too much prompting for me. See? See how it just disperses the color, because this is so saturated with water that it just makes these incredible patterns without too much prompting from me. And if a place stays real stagnant, just get some water on your brush and put more. Don't put any more paint, just put lots and lots of water, and you can very gently just drag it and it'll start spreading just like that. So again, I'm going to put you down while I continue adding to this, and you'll see the finished result. Okay guys, so here it shows without very little white. I've just gone ahead and again saturated my slab here with acrylic, very watered down acrylic, and I've just allowed all the colors to kind of blend into each other. And I think it's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add my white with a smaller brush, probably something really thin. Where did my other brush go? Well, I have this brush, and then I have a very, very, very thin brush. And what I will do is just, I think I will use the tiny, tiny brush, and I will just add very, very watered down white, so that every time it hits a color, it kind of disperses the white and makes it look even more like an agate. So back in a minute. Okay, so I've got my brush, and this is the brush I was talking about. As you can see, it's pretty thin and long. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip my brush in water, and I've got this white here. I'm going to dip it really well and then find a clean spot on my palette, and then I'm just going to, now that I've added some white here, as you can see, I'm just adding more and more water to it. Just plain water. I'm not rinsing, and I'm not doing anything except just really, really watering down this acrylic. Now that I have it nice and watered down, I'm just going to add little random dots of white, and I'm just dragging it ever so slightly. I don't want to drag it too much, because I feel like then it creates too much of a harsh line. So all I'm doing is just dropping down a little dollop and dragging it a little. And like this one, I'm going to adjust a little because I think it looks irregular. Just one more. If you need more white to your watered down white, just add one touch of white to your watered down white. And then if you make a real harsh line, just add more water to it, and then it will disperse it just like that. So I'm going to continue doing this all the way through the piece, and when I get done doing that, I will show you what I have. Okay guys, so this is what I have done. Like I said, I just dragged a little bit of color, and I just layered and layered and layered color with just lots of watered down acrylic paint. And I think I really like the way it turned out, and of course you could choose whatever colors you want. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and very, very carefully put it onto my baking sheet lined with a piece of aluminum foil, and I'm going to bake it again for about 10 minutes. I'm going to check on it and then see if all the paint has dried. If not, I'll just leave it on my oven. My oven is currently set at 275 degrees, and I will just keep it at that temperature. And I'll just check it until all of this is dry, and we can go from there. One recommendation having done this would be that instead of putting it on your wood block while you're painting it, I would advise that you just go ahead and leave it on your baking tray lined with aluminum foil, which is how you initially baked it the first time around. So I'll go ahead and bake this and be back when that is done. Okay guys, so here it is straight out of the oven. Now I've allowed it to cool, and what I'm going to do now is add a thick layer of decoupage medium. Some of the color was lost once it was put in the oven, but I'm hoping that with the sealant of decoupage it will kind of revive the color. So once I have applied the decoupage, I will show you what it looks like. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and covered it in decoupage. I am just using this Mod Podge matte. You could certainly also do a gloss, but this is the one that I have currently, so that's what I'm using. And I'm just going to wait for it to dry and see what happens. Okay everybody, so here what I've done is I've gone ahead and cooked it with the paint on. I've added a coat of decoupage medium. So this Mod Podge is what I used. It's got a nice slick texture to it now and a nice sheen. The part that broke off, I've gone ahead and glued back on with some E6000 glue, and honestly it's not as bad as I expected it to look. It just looks like, you know, a natural variation of an agate. The other little pieces that broke off right here, I'm not going to go ahead and attach because they broke into two pieces. What I will do is I'll just darken that wood piece. Additionally, what I have done is my plastic sheet that I got at Hobby Lobby in the glass making section. I left the cling film on both sides on. I went ahead and put it onto the wood piece, and if you notice, I went ahead and left like my clay and even the clear piece. I did not bring it all the way to the edge because I like this variation of dark brown, or like a lightish brown that's darker than this, so that it does look like an agate, kind of the edge of an agate. So what I've done is I took my sheet, I left the cling on both sides, I matched it up to that edge. I put a mark with a Sharpie marker. The reason I left the cling on is because I didn't want to mark the actual plastic with marker, so I just marked the cling wrap. And now I'm going to remove the cling wrap and stick it on to my wood piece, and then it's going to look very much like an agate. Okay everybody, so I went ahead and removed the cling wrap from my plastic piece. I wanted to show you that around the edges, when I was cutting it, it did make kind of these little cracks, or striations rather, into the plastic, but it just kind of adds to that agate quality to have those little striations in the plastic. I'm going to go ahead and paint this this spot right here like a dark brown, or maybe even a black, before I go ahead and glue on this plastic. But it's looking pretty good, and I hope you guys are liking it. So I'll be back in just a few minutes when it's completed. Thanks. Okay, everybody, so I've gone ahead and colored in that cracked spot right here, and then I've carried that color through the broken part of the clay, because I wanted it to look more organic, like it was meant to be there. And then I went ahead, even though this has already been glazed with the decoupage medium, I went ahead and went over it with acrylic paint right around the edges in that same color, just so that it ties together really well. So that's what it looks like thus far. I'm going to go ahead and let that acrylic dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and put on my plastic sheet, and I think it's coming along nicely. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and glued down my plastic sheet over my faux agate, and it's made this very wonderful reflective surface, and it's made it look like a real slice of agate. So the only thing is, as I mentioned before, I had used E6000. I had never worked with this type of glue before. When I did decide to glue it down, it kind of created these glue bands, but it just, I feel like because it's clear, it just looks like part of the stone, which is nice. Another suggestion that I have is, once you do glue it, you don't want to put all the glue around all the center part. You really just want to put glue all around the edge instead. And then what I did was, I had some scrap wood, and once I glued this down, I put the scrap wood on top of it to weigh it down, and I let it weigh down overnight. But again, I only put the glue around the edges and not on the center of the agate itself. Now I'm really liking how it's kind of turning out. Remember, I had left some of this part raw, like a normal color. All I did was just add some decoupage to that kind of raw edge. And now though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mix up some paint, and here I've got some white, some black, and a little bit of this metallic brown, and I'm just going to mix the white and black to make different shades of gray, incorporate a little bit of the metallic brown, and then I'm going to paint all this barky edge, and I'm going to try to drag it up into this space right here so that it starts looking more like stone. I'll probably just add paint, let it dry for a second, and then get a napkin and kind of dab and just do layers and layers of paint till it becomes a very rock-like color. And because of all the how bark is rough, it will give it that textured appearance as well of stone. Like I said, it's just going to be just me dabbing a little bit of black, maybe a little bit of gray, and then just getting a napkin and tapping, another little bit of black, a little bit of gray, maybe a little bit of metallic brown, dab. And the more you do that and layer, you'll start getting a very stone-like appearance. And again, I'm just going to drag it a little bit under here just to kind of make it like it's part of the stone. And then I will show you what it looks like. Okay, back in a minute. Okay guys, so here I've got you in one hand and trying to paint with the other. I have lost my little tiny tripod for this camera. I went on vacation well, let's see. I went on vacation in March, and I must have misplaced it somewhere on that trip. I'm sure it's in my apartment, but I haven't been able to find it. So I'm just having to hold you with one hand. So here I've got a little bit of gray. And again, I'm just dabbing. Here's a little bit of black and mixed in. Dab. Then I just take my napkin or paper towel and give just a little dab so it pulls some of the color, but not all of it. Gonna add some of this little metallic brown. Dab, 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 dab. And important thing is you got this little bit of a lip from the wood where the plastic meets, and I want to make sure to get in there a little bit, just like that. And the more I do that, the more stone-like it will look. So again, just dab, dab, dab. Go into that little lip where the plastic meets. And as you can see, it's starting to look more and more like stone. So I'm going to continue on this way until I get all the way around, and then I will show you what it looks like. Okay. Okay everybody, so this is the finished product. As you can see, I've gone ahead and darkened up this edge. I've put decoupage medium on the outside so that it seals in all those little pieces of bark that we're scraping off. But this is what it looks like, and I think it just looks absolutely fabulous. As you can see, this surface that I put this plastic on, I think it was a really good idea to put the decoupage on the clay itself, because it made it shine, and then when you put this plastic on, it just makes it above and beyond. And it's so reflective that even like I have my little antler horns here on my altar, that it's so reflective that it's created a mirror effect and you can actually see the antlers. I may go ahead and remove the antlers so that you guys can see it without the darkness. Give me just a minute. There we go. And I mean, you can still see me in my camera because it's just so absolutely reflective. But I think this just looks fabulous. It's everything and more than I expected. You know, sometimes you get an idea and you go through all these scenarios of how to make it work. And a lot of times you get a lot of fails. And sometimes, once in a while, you get one that really works, and this did, and I am just thrilled. I want to thank you for being with me here today and trying out this experiment with me. If you have been inspired, I hope that it does inspire you and that you try to create your own. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a post to this video and I will try to get back to you. I know it's been a little while since I've been on YouTube, and I have some questions coming in on some other videos, and I'm getting a little backlogged. So if I have not responded to a previous question or comment, I do apologize. But if you do have any questions on this video, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. But I hope you enjoyed this. I am just ecstatic. I think it looks fabulous. I think it looks very much like a regular agate slice. Here you can see me in the reflection. And I am just so thrilled. I hope you guys have a wonderful and awesome day. Again, if you like this video, go ahead and like that button. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you really liked it, hit subscribe to see any future videos from me. I want you guys to have an awesome day. Blessed be, and goodbye.